Hey guys, welcome to the Blue Collar Business Podcast, where we discuss the realest, rawest, most relevant stories and strategies behind building every corner of a blue collar business. I'm your host, Cy Kirby, and I want to help you. What it took me, trial and error, and a whole lot of money to learn. The information that no one in this industry is willing to share. Whether you're under that shade tree or have your hard hat on, let's expand your toolbox. Guys, welcome back to another episode of the Blue Collar Business Podcast. This episode, we're traveling down a different path. Hang in there if you're in any type of the pre-construction world, estimator world. We're going to be talking and navigating the commercial sector of that today. But just wanted to welcome you guys to 2026. I can't tell you guys how much I appreciate the support of 2025. And we look to push the podcast and bring you the people that you guys need to get the information out of and challenge them to help change what little we can in the industry, but bringing awareness is where it starts. And this gentleman I have met through our local marketplace, honestly, but he is a director of pre-construction at Baldwin Shell, a very large GC that a lot of you guys may know here in the southeastern United States. We're just specifically talking about Northwest Arkansas area today, guys, and he's got some opportunities to share with you. But at the same time, we're going to be talking about what you guys can be doing to set yourselves apart to get a GC to approach you. Or not only that, on the pre-construction side of things, how do you walk into a GC, say you're coming straight out of college, you know, the guys that do, or maybe you just want to just grunt it and get your way into a commercial construction company. The estimation side is its own world in what we do, and to learn it and navigate it and be able to sell it sales is everything, as you guys have heard me say so many times. So the one and only man, Baxter Horton, thank you so much for joining me today. Seriously.
Great to be here. Thanks for the invite.
So give us a little brief background, as much as you want to kind of share, and then we're going to pick apart a GC today. I'm excited. No, I know that's what a lot of the guys are probably sitting there thinking, like, oh, but guys, this is what it takes. It takes two parts of the conversation, subcontractors, and we're also going to talk about the relationship value that people like Baldwin Shell value. And there's other GCs out there that don't value the relationship whatsoever. But as you guys know, there's always nightmare stories, but we're also going to try and talk about how you can, set yourself up to ensure that you're prepared to deal with a commercial contract. Yeah. To be fair, from the subcontractor side of things, I think a lot of times the goal is just to jump right in there to the commercial game as quickly as possible. So hang in there, but tell us a little brief background if you don't mind.
Sure. Born and raised in East Arkansas. Went to college up here, U of A, go Hogs, and got a kinesiology degree.
Really?
In exercise science. I know you can looking at me, the picture of fitness here. But once I graduated, we ended up moving to Dallas shortly thereafter. And about a year after being in Dallas is when I actually got into construction. And it was kind of like what I was doing wasn't working out. And through a friend had an opportunity. And I said, well, that sounds interesting. And here we are 23 years later.
Always on the estimating side?
That's where I started. And that's where my strong suit's always been. I've been a little bit in project management, overall company management in a few locations, but always seemed to have more of a knack on that pre-construction estimating side of let's figure it out, because nobody wants me building anything. So everybody makes more money if I'm sitting behind a desk and a computer. So if I'm out on the back end of a shovel, everybody has lost the game. So.
Yeah, for sure. So in Dallas, what was kind of like, say you're this guy sitting here on the other end of the screen. What did you do? You navigated right into a commercial joint, or?
Yeah, so I started for a commercial trade partner on the landscape and irrigation side of things, and they did a little bit of concrete flat work as well. So I got hired to be a project manager and estimator. I'd never opened a set of plans in my life, and one of the stories I recount to a lot of people is I remember asking my boss a few days in, all right, we got to do a concrete takeoff. And I was like, well, what does this mean? I don't know. And what does this mean? Well, I don't know. And so I think, fortunately, the good Lord gave me a good head on my shoulders, and I was able to figure out a lot of that out on my own, but I never stopped asking questions. There's always somebody that knows more than I do, and trying to take that approach in life, and specifically in the construction industry, will really serve you well. And it's definitely served me well.
So it's kind of funny that you say that, because what a lot of guys, especially solo operators from the sub perspective, you're kind of caught between the PM and the estimator role. I know you can probably think of 3 or 4 subs that you have directly right now that you're like, that guy, God bless, I wait 2 weeks on a price because he's standing on my job. And it's like, you can't really get on him, but my God, it'd be a little bit better. But it's funny that the knack, it is a knack. Yeah. It's a different side, a different perspective, a different perception of how the construction world is. And as you know, Dylan, you spent some time with him. We call what he does the fantasy land. And because you never know if it's actually going to happen, or if, this works out, or if it's so different than what 5 years used to be. But he's got the knack for it. He understands. He says, I am the vehicle. He repeats on repeat, I am the vehicle. The more I bid, the more we can land, the more the guys can do, the more money's in the bank. He is the vehicle. But it's so hard because, as you know, the hundreds of hours that you invest in these projects to get down to a contract signature and the guy across town gets it. But to personally have that knack, if you're sitting there navigating to the commercial world, estimation, a dang good estimator can make really good money. Yeah, as you know. But the PM sector, you can really have a knack for that. But that's not what we're getting at today. So you stayed with the estimation lane. When did the transition in Northwest Arkansas happen?
Yeah, we had some family things that led us back here. So both my wife and my sisters live here in Northwest Arkansas. And of course, we met here in Northwest Arkansas, and so had that dynamic go on, decided to move back. And so we've been back about a little over 3 years now.
Okay. Oh, wow, dude. I didn't know it was that recent.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. So talk a little bit about the Dallas market, I guess, bidding all of that. I know you were a part of the big growth down there. I mean, you've seen a little bit of it. I don't know anything about that world. I know how fast this place grew, over the last couple of years. But talk about a little bit of those early years of getting your feet wet, because I think there's so much real value in what you just said. Your boss at the time hired you to be an estimator, and you ask him a question. I ain't got a clue, bud. Figure it out, Yeah. But that's what a lot of these guys are doing. But I'd love to hear some more stories on the early years and working in the Dallas market.
I mean, yeah, Dallas in general. I think there's a lot of parallels and similarities between Dallas and Northwest Arkansas. There's obviously a scale difference. Dallas, I mean, we've got 7, maybe close to 8 million people in that Metroplex area now, and we're just a little bit over, I think, 1 million now in the 4 counties of Northwest Arkansas. So huge difference there. I never complain about traffic here because I lived Dallas traffic. So traffic here is great. So, it's a high-paced market, and there's a lot going on. I think similar to Northwest Arkansas, there's a lot of people, because Dallas is growing, there's a lot of people from the outside coming in too, right? So you always have to be mindful of who you're dealing with. And just because they've got a flashy plan for a new development or this or that doesn't mean they actually have the type of people you really want to do business with.
Man.
So we face that here too, right? We've all seen that come and go and learned our lessons and taken our licks. But the thing for me going in that market and from the landscape and irrigation side, and then when I transitioned to in control and we're doing architectural water features, which is its own thing and it's its own niche market, and but you've got to make sure you perform there just like any other trade. And our margins were pretty good because we were so specialized and niche, but we were also a little bit of a disruptor into that market, a new name compared to an old guard. And so we were able to, we took our licks too, learning some things, making promises that maybe we didn't have figured out right at the time, but then we figured them out as we went and learned a few things along the way. And it really, in that role, really shaped my success in the commercial general contractor world, because a lot of times when you build fountains, you get a circle on a page and it says fountain. And so you get to figure out all that goes with it. And a lot of times general contractors like to just have that turnkey. So we not only had our MEP stuff that we would self-perform, but we would hire a concrete guy and a waterproofer and an earthwork guy to help us pull the whole thing together. And so learning that coordination on a smaller scale, but a very high visibility item on a project was really a great training ground to be a general contractor and doing what I do today. So
no, 100%. And if you can find somebody like in control, like you were just talking about, as a younger guy, getting your feet wet, it's a prime example. You're doing the nature of the beast of general contracting. But if they set a footing an inch wrong, it's not $100,000 error, you know what I mean? Or 6 inches low, you know what I'm talking about. Right. But it's such a smaller scale. But navigating the schedule of 4 or 5 subcontractors and pulling them together to get one fountain per se, in that, it's exactly what a GC does. And there's such a difference between good ones and bad ones.
Well, as from the GC side of things, especially as the market's transition on the construction manager roles versus a true GC, we're really managing risk a lot of times. We manage the risk through the coordination that we bring. And that's where we bring value to the project, is the coordination amongst all the trades. Since we're not necessarily builders ourselves on a lot of the scopes, but, that managing that risk. But the way I believe anybody that's bringing the best value to their customer is, we're not just managing our risk. We're helping everybody manage the project risk.
Yeah.
And so that's where we can really partner with people and help understand what's going on. You may be looking at the utility scope and understanding the risk here. You're not necessarily understanding some of this adjacent risk. And once we inform you of that helps you better understand, and oftentimes helps lower your risk too. Yep. And so when you lower risk, you lower price. And then you just have better projects. And that's what we're ultimately striving for. Literally
for sub and GC. You don't want 85 phone calls a day of crap going wrong because the engineer and because of the architect and this guy and this sub, and everybody has those days, but you want to string along better days and good.
All right. And we can answer a lot of those questions on the front end.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, well, we'll figure it out later, being proactive, because it's construction. We're going to find things nobody expected.
Yep.
It happens every day on practically every job site. And so why not figure out the things we can before we've ever scratched dirt? And when we do that, we're able to really perform very well as a team, on every project.
And I think that's where the term pre-construction comes from, is a really good jam up pre-construction team. Man, those guys, the producers, can go out there and whatever parameter, whether it's a super scheduling trades and we've got the right trades and subs lined up for the project, or whether you're the sub going out there and you see that February 14th's been on the schedule for 6 months, and you show up and you start dropping material on the 12th, you don't catch a phone call of, hey man, what are you doing? Well, I'm dropping my material. Your schedule said February 14th. Yeah, we're nowhere near ready for you. Well, then why didn't you update your schedule that you email me every single week? Right. Or just shoot me a phone call and go, hey man, we're trending an email, anything, but there's so much of that can be handled on the pre-construction side, and leave and literally visibly see, hey, look, our utility sub, he knows that area. He's made us known that there's some risk here involved with this manhole that's existing. It's been here 30 years, and it's going to take him some extra time. So let's leave him that gap in that schedule, so whatever trades are around that area aren't affected. And that's the trade relationship, the sub to GC relationship. And I'd love to hear a little bit of insight from you about, I made mention about how these guys as subs, there's a lot of guys that they think they want to jump head first in the commercial world. I did too, by God. And man, I think I would have hung on a little bit differently. But man, don't judge yourself on yesterday's decisions with today's wisdom. But I'd like to hear a little bit of insight of maybe what these guys can be doing, say the 2 or 3 year old company that's got some good residential work, but wants to cut their teeth on a smaller GC project. And you guys are a much larger profile, but how do they get in the door with an estimator or somebody at the pre-construction team,
Yeah. I mean, first off, for us at Baldwin Shell, we our tagline even is building relationships. So, we really value relationships. I know everybody says that, right? We do try to live that. And, sometimes we do it well and sometimes we don't, but we're always trying to constantly learn and accept grace and forgiveness from people. But, just reach out, I think, is first and foremost. Be honest about what you actually do and do with your own services, your own crews, should say. If you're going to subcontract out a lot of stuff, that's in some things, right? That's a thing. So like building structures and stormwater and stuff like
that.
Understandable, but like help us understand what you really do.
Yeah,
what your company excels at. So that's first and foremost. When we get this, we do all of that. Well, that doesn't help us really to hone in on what would be maybe a good first project for you to do with us. Also, be realistic about the size of project that you might get. You with a company for the first time, even if you're an established commercial trade partner. If we don't know you, the likelihood we're going to give you a large subcontract to start getting to know you is probably not realistic. Be willing to go after some smaller stuff because from our side, in the work that we do, we need qualified people to do the smaller stuff too. And sometimes companies get so big they decide we don't want to do the small stuff anymore. Well, that doesn't help us get to know you very well, and so it's a bigger risk for us to issue a larger subcontract with somebody we don't know versus somebody we do know. And so if there's a small dollar differential and, we're trying to make a choice off value, if we don't have that relationship, then that's not showing the value that would overcome that dollar difference. Right. I had an example of just recently working with a trade partner, had a small project, and they're capable of doing stuff that's 100x of what we signed them up for, right? But it was a good get to know you, and everybody really enjoyed from both sides doing that. And so that's what we're striving for. You just got to be prepared for the commercial world too. It's a different animal than the residential. You're not going to get that 50% deposit that you were getting on the residential side, or 25%. Right, you have to prove out your cost, and you've got to be able to cash flow that. And so one of the things that we're looking at as a company too is your financial risk. And so we're going to look at your project history and pre-qualify you, and understand. Okay, no, they this is a $200,000 contract, and even though we don't plan to bond them, they could only bond a $100,000 contract. Well, that's probably a no, because you don't have the financial backing to really do the project. And ultimately, it may be disappointing for you to lose a project, right, in that regard, but it's also a service to you because GCs are really good about putting people in difficult situations, right? And it may not even be our fault. It could just be just a culmination of events. But when you get there, we don't want to hang anybody with with the decisions that we've made, because we took a risk, even though the financials were iffy. We took a risk, and now it's not working out. Now our project's delayed. You may be even going out of business. That's just not good for anybody, and that's not how we want to serve the people that we're working with as well.
I think you hit the nail on the head that a lot of these guys don't even understand, and I didn't either, is that you guys are managing risk. And when they understand, coming from the residential side of things, maybe even the light commercial, they're doing some sub of the sub work or whatever, and they've been in and off of commercial work. But when you start signing these contracts and you start putting up bonds, and your general liability insurance is what it requires to get on these sites, and you start carrying some of this overhead, stuff gets real quick. And for the excavation and utility guy, I'm not just sending 10 guys to go wire a freaking building with a I'm sorry I'm picking on you Sparkies, but I'm sorry I've got more overhead expense than an electrician does or a plumber does. And so if you're in the excavation space or the utility space, guys, make sure you do have a good financial understanding before you start navigating 30, 60, 90-day pay terms. And it's not always like that. If you build a right relationship and you get in with, you understand your payment terms and you discuss those, it's not taboo, guys. It's what you're doing it for to begin with. And make sure you understand the payment terms of a contract. You can, hey, Mr. Estimator, man, this is kind of my first one. Don't try and hide it either. Like, I think that's a
great point. Just having honest conversations.
Yeah,
that's the world where I prefer to live in. And I'm always going to have an honest conversation with you. That doesn't mean I can always share all the information.
Right.
But I'm going to be honest with you about the situation. So I need you to be honest back. So when we're reviewing scope, if you don't have something, but you're afraid to tell me you missed it because you're afraid you'll lose the contract.
That's right.
Well, that could be the nail in the coffin for you or you at that company, or for the company as a whole, because sometimes they're big ticket items. Yeah. Again, your plan B, hoping that it'll work out later. Well, that's not a plan. Mm-hmm. So we need to make sure you're whole. And if you lose the job because you left something out, well, we'll take that as a learning experience. If you win a job because you lose something out, it might work out. It might not. And we've all done that, right? And we have to make strategic decisions on, well, I didn't pick that up, but I'm not worried about that. But, if it's a big scope element, we've had, things like retaining walls and things like that. Let's have the conversation.
Yeah.
When we do that, on the pre-con side of it, and this is what I tell my teams and I tell our project managers why we're trying to do is we are focused on cost. We always have to be mindful of cost. That's our industry. We're one of the biggest capital expenses any company will ever make when they're building a building.
Yep.
And they don't make those decisions lightly. So we always have to be mindful of cost. We have to bring value with that. But at the same point in time, if we give them a building for $2 million that should have cost 2.2, but hey, they got a great value at 2, but it leaks.
Yeah. Did
we really give them a good building at $2 million? No, we didn't. So let's figure those things out so we get, bring them a good value so their long-term maintenance and things like that are better for them as a company. But saying all that to say, let's have an honest conversation. Mm-hmm. We can work some things out. When we go to sign a subcontract and we go to build upon that, that building and that subcontract, I want your project managers, your superintendents, your operators, and our PMs and superintendents. I want you guys to go build. That's what you want to do. That's what those guys excel at. I don't want them fighting over whether something should be a change or not. Mm-hmm. Right. So let's push all that to the front, not hope it'll work out on the back. And because 9 times out of 10, it doesn't
never works.
Somebody's taking it back
end, yeah.
Or somebody's trying to figure out how to make this job profitable because on paper it's not profitable right now, and so that project will suffer, and it's not going to have the best results it could, and so it's going to damage your relationship with the general contractor. The general contractor's relationship with that owner is going to be damaged. But if we can have honest conversations, we can figure out ways, even if we have a target value with the customer that we can't exceed that, but we pick that up in your scope. We can then work through the scope because we understand what the true cost of the project is. if we don't understand the true cost of the project, we really don't understand what the outcome will be. We're just, again, hoping, and that's not where we need to be.
Hope isn't a high performance item.
No.
And Tim Grover, Dirt World. But you hit some other nails on the head, and you're right. On this side of the table, prepare yourself. Yeah, not just financially. And guys, I want to give a shout out to Mobilization Funding. They are a great cash flow item. If you're entering into your first commercial job, they will teach you how to literally cash flow a job, and it costs you 1% or 2%, but you can work that out on the front end. I'm telling you, there's tools, as you guys have been listening to the show, that can help you navigate the financial side. Go get some help. Don't just enter with what you think you should. I did. I went feet first. You saw me grow, and we were all over the place, and we still are. But at the same time, man, it was my wife just trying to rein me in the entire time of, can we get our feet underneath us? Can we please? Do you know what this is? What is this? Look this up. Talk to this person. And I'm like, I don't know. We just got to keep let's just do more work, more revenue. And I'm like, it eventually just, it will absolutely hit the wall and come to a screeching halt. Managing your cost is where I'm trying to go with all of this. You've got to know your cost. You can't just be chasing the revenue. And so early on, as a subcontractor, you're trying to navigate. You don't know your costs. Hell, you don't know what it costs for your people to be out there, your trucks, your equipment, your tools, all of that. And so when you're trying to go back and forth with labor on a GC, they've got cost codes associated to everything. And you don't know what a cost code is yet because, you're just learning. And so spin around, they're sitting here going, what do you mean? There's no way that can cost $5,500. Like, you push back and you're like, well, I think it's going to cost me, $5,500, sir. But there's no justification. There's no cost codes associated. So when they're saying they're not asking you not to make money, they're asking you to justify your costs. So make sure, as you guys know, I hammer this home. Shout out to Mr. Nick Peters coming on the show. Know your cost. And that was actually Mr. Kiewit. He spent some time with the Kiewit bunch, and he pulled out to one of his jobs. Here's an orange sign, said, know your cost in the middle of the job site. Mm-hmm. And he asked Mr. Kiewit, like, hey, what is this sign about? And he's got one in his office, one's heading to my office. But it has unlocked so many doors. The other thing that you hit on as a subcontractor is, hey, Baxter, this is over at SciCon. I just wanted to let you know, I know roof drains are a terrible sore subject on your commercial projects. They either end up screwed up because the utility guy didn't want to capture it, and the earthwork guy did the storm drain package. But hey, man, we got to do some hardscape on the landscape side, and I know we could probably tackle that better and be a little bit more efficient. Would you mind on this next project giving me a look? And you're going to be like, bro, absolutely. Because roof drains aren't this huge item. Right. Unless it's this ginormous building, whatever it is. Most general cases here, guys. That's a great example to offer up as a first introduction into a GC as maybe a pipe guy or a dirt guy. Yeah, well,
it's just what it makes me think of is how, if you're trying to get into that commercial world, or you're trying to get in with a general contractor and you've targeted and you're already in the commercial world, how can you bring value, right? And if the only value you're bringing is price, well, it's tough competition. From what we're trying to do with the school districts and the private owners that we work with, right? They're long-term owners of their buildings, right? And they're not planning to flip this building 2 years after they're done with it and just reap the profit from that, and they don't have to worry about the maintenance of it. Right? They want a long-term quality product. So we're striving for that. And so how can you bring us value? You can bring us value through alternate materials that save money or provide faster production, right? So it may be a slight increase on your side, but if it can help us get off the job faster, we can actually save the owner money because our schedule is shorter now, and that means our team on the job maybe we're only out there 9.5 months instead of 10 months, right? We can give 2 weeks of savings back to an owner. So if you can think about things like that to bring value, those coordination items is what I would call them. And that's what the roof drains. So hey, utility guys got it to 5 foot and the downspouts, or the roof drains themselves. The plumber says he's got it to 5 foot, but nobody says I've got the connection of one to the other, right? And are those even actually aligned from the civil drawings to the plumbing drawings? Sized the same, sized appropriately, right? Those are things that, we try to look at and figure out, but we've got a lot going on too. We don't catch everything. And so when we've got a trade partner that can help us kind of hit fast forward on a few things,
you bet.
And we know we've developed a relationship when we trust the information they're telling us versus they're just trying to give us a sales job.
Yeah.
Right. That provides a lot of value to us as well. But you've always got to be mindful of cost, right? Mm-hmm. So that's one of the things too, is like I've got companies that can bring a huge value in relating to technical knowledge and the people that they'll bring to a meeting and do all that, but their cost isn't in line with what the market is saying. And there's always a balance there, right?
Oh yeah.
But what some of our best trade partners can do is help me understand the difference between maybe what market's telling me the cost should be and why your cost is here. And that's where I see a lot of our trade partners fall down, is they can't tell me why it's different.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not that they say it like this, but it's kind of just, well, we're just better. We'll do a better job. Well, that's not a line I can take to my owner to justify, because a lot of times I don't have to carry the load number if I can help the owner understand that they didn't actually have a complete scope, or it's actually going to take 3 weeks longer with them and their plan for production than it is with this guy. And so that's actually going to cost me to charge you more because I'm going to be on the job site longer, right? So how can you help me to understand and not lower your number, but understand what are the things within your number that may your number look more expensive on day one, but on day two, after evaluation, we can actually kind of, when we're leveling things out, the term we use when we're evaluating trade partner bids, we want to make sure your scope is apples to apples. Well, what is scope? Well, it's the actual, pipe in the ground.
That's right.
But it's also your schedule, your production, your manpower, financial stability, right? Your ability to, past project performance and experience with similar type projects, right? That's all the things that we're looking for and have to evaluate. And sometimes we've got good information to evaluate it from, and sometimes all we've got to go is a number. I would tell you as a trade partner, and it's one of the things I've experienced more here in Northwest Arkansas than I did in Dallas, even if a GC has a bid form they want you to fill that form out, do the best that you can, attach your proposal on your company letterhead detailing exactly what you're doing. That is so invaluable to us, because if the only thing I have to judge you on is a number, well, then it's just left to me to decide. But if you can help me understand your approach and the value you bring to the project, then that's a differentiator, particularly in here in this market. And it's not a high bar. Telling me exactly what you have and what you don't have, that can be, really, really advantageous.
Dude, what a great point to bring up, seriously, because we have spent a lot of time on our proposal sheet over the years and just making it a little bit better. And we get a little bit of feedback out of nowhere and be like, you know what, you're right. Why is this like that? Okay. And always trying to reoccurringly make it more clear, more transparent for our customers, but also protect and whatever we need to do for the subcontractor side. But yeah, bid form, you get these bid packages. Guys, take the time and read the dang thing. Like, there's somebody from Baxter's team that is sitting in there, and that is their job, to go through this plan for plan, print for print, bring all of the utility notes over, the MEP notes over, and bid you a tailored package. Just read it. For the love of God, you're going to have so much more detailed information to share with that estimator that's ahead of that project. But not only that, don't just fill in the numbers. Exactly. Right. And if you don't have a nice proposal, like a on the civil space, we can handle earthwork, water, sewer, storm drain, roof drains. We can handle a whole bunch of different types of scopes. And we have very clearly detailed out, hey, here's this scope and water. This is what we're covering with our quantities. So it's clearly known to you. They don't, anytime you leave these guys to assume, they're managing risk. Let's go back to that. So if it smells, feels risky, and I got my safe guy over here that I've done business with, I know for a fact I'm not going to hear anything about it, we're going over here. But hey, whoa, this guy provided me an extremely detailed and thorough proposal. I'm going to give this guy a call back, and I'm going to what's called de-scope him, and to ensure that he's got all my 100% on my bid packages. Well, he even added an ad alternate with a little bit of pricing to save me some money here. I know you guys take that as mind-blowing because, I mean, a lot of times it's hard enough just to get them to fill the bid package out.
It is. And, you got to keep in mind, too, especially when we're doing construction manager at risk work, I have to sell my team on why we should pick you. And then we also have to sell an owner. So my team may be convinced, but we also have to be able to share that with the owner. So just, really boils down to communication, right? And that's what I kind of look at my job as the spoke of a wheel, the hub of a wheel. We got all these different spokes coming in from the architect, the engineer, MEP, civil, structural, my superintendent, my project manager, the estimators that are working for me, all of our trade partners that are coming into that, our leadership. And how do I take all of that information and instead of blowing things up, compile it in a way that everything they've asked for, they've received. And if they haven't received it, it's been communicated to them why it's not included, and they know it, versus finding out 6 months later, oh, well, that got VE'd out. Well, that's not a good conversation to have. It's all about setting expectations and helping everybody to understand nobody probably is ever going to get everything they want on a project. Or even an owner, they're going to have to make compromises probably because of budget, right? Yeah. An architect, probably same reason there because of budget. Trade partners maybe not get the margin that they wanted, but because they needed to be aggressive to get the project, but to cover all the scope appropriately, using the right pipe. I just made me think of a story in our fountain world, right? We use a lot of Schedule 80 pipe, and it had a ton of glue fittings. And the cost of a glue fitting on Schedule 80 pipe for like 8, 10, 12-inch pipe, you'd be talking $1,000 plus a fitting, right? You got one shot at that, right? And so you got some contingency in there if you're doing that, because you're gonna redo a few joints probably with pressure testing, because it's hard to get a glue joint right.
Oh yeah,
size pipe, but you're wondering how some of these guys are just smoking you on price. And after I became a GC, I was out on walking a job site for another one of our divisions, and they were putting in a large scale fountain. And I saw the pool company that got hired to do the work out there with a propane torch, heating up this Schedule 80 pipe to get it around this arc. It was like, I know I would have had bid that with 3 or 4 45s and 90s to get us over there. It's like, that's $10,000 worth of labor and materials that they're not covering. But, just communicate. That's what it really boils down to at the end of the day. A lot of way I look at it, there's a lot of people that know how to build. I'm not one of them. I know how to pull a lot of information together in a way and communicate it so we're checking all the boxes and covering risk, and getting all the scope included, right? We may be having 1,500, 2,000 line items of scope in an overall project. And so when we do write that trade package, we've made our best judgment on how we need to get all of those line items covered. We have to assign them to someone, right? And some of them we do ourselves, but not a lot of them, right? So mostly it's subcontracted, but somebody's got to do it. And so if I've asked the utility guys to pick up the downspout connections, right, and you exclude it, well, I've got a gap that I've got to figure out how to fill, right?
Yep.
And maybe you're not comfortable with it, or maybe on this particular project, it's a bad idea. Pick up the phone. Let's have a conversation. I'm never trying to dictate scope, right? but I do have a responsibility to my company and to our owners, our customers, to deliver all of the scope of the project, right? So I've got to find a way to do it. And so sometimes, there's old Arkansas saying, right? There's more than one way to skin a cat.
That's right.
So let's just figure out another way. But if you communicate early to me about this, that, or the other, or even scope you see as assigned maybe to the plumber that you think would be better for you guys to pick up, call me, talk to me. Hey, let's talk about it, because you're probably right. Mm-hmm. I'm probably not. We're all going to be flexible, right? We need to be flexible instead of rigid, solve problems, work together doing it.
The other thing I want to say is when Baxter said earlier, reach out, and he's telling you, call me, have a conversation. That doesn't mean just call one time and say you didn't call me back. That means, hey, called, send a text message. Hey, this is what this is in reference to. Hey, send an email follow-up. Here's a snippet of the prints, and this is what I was calling you about when it adds your convenience. Dude, we're busy. Like, you guys are busy. We're all busy. But if these guys up here putting these massive, and Baldwin Shell does a lot of school work and does a lot of public work. These are massive line items, scopes, and so if they're giving you the opportunity and they're reaching out, don't make it difficult on them. You know what I mean? But communicate, not just, well, I called you back at one time. Man, they're busy. We're all busy. Communicate effectively. Don't just, communication's two ways, right? So got to listen and express.
Well, I flip that around too. I think
agreed.
I do my best. Again, I'm not perfect at it. Maybe salespeople, I don't necessarily always call back selling the latest, greatest software. But when trade partners are calling us, we can't always give them all the information. We may not have bought out a scope, and we can't let them know how their number was.
Yeah.
Right? That's not not the world that we live in on negotiated projects. But let's make sure that we're all working together. If you guys took the time to put a bid together for me, I at least owe you some feedback.
Yeah.
Even if we don't, if you got the job, right, you got the feedback. But if you don't get the job, why not? Is it price? Is it something else? And, I'm more than happy to have a conversation with somebody. A lot of people are only looking, were they the low number or not? And if that's all you're looking for, that's all I'm going to give you, because I've got to manage my time. Yep. But at the same point in time, if you want to sit down and have a conversation of how can we be better? What could we have done differently that would have helped us to have been selected for this project? Let's have a conversation, because I have been on that trade partner side. I spent essentially half of my career was on the trade partner side before I moved into the GC world. I've felt what it feels like to call a GC over and over and over and never get a phone call back. Well, what they didn't realize is I was the guy who was going to keep calling until they finally gave me the feedback.
There you go.
But, right, it still took a lot of time and energy. Right?
It does.
And nobody's going to win every project, but let's at least talk and communicate. And again, how can we all be better and set you up better for the next one?
I think also to slide mention here, we just slid right over how important scheduling is. And, these guys are sitting there constantly just obsessing over their price. But if there's a way that your company can perform a said scope item that doesn't cost any more and reduce time in your schedule, that's interest off of that the owner doesn't have to pay. That's a whole lot of overhead and expenses for a whole entire month that you guys may not have to be out there, whatever the schedule creation may be. But have that communicate, man, I worked over there 2 years ago, and I know that manhole's there, or whatever the case may be. Provide that to you guys, because time is literal money.
Absolutely.
And the schedule is just as important as your freaking price. And if it's elongated, a quarter long job, anything more than that, they're going to make you provide a schedule. But seriously, send a schedule with that broken out proposal, because if you can not only just sell your price, but here's how fast we're going to do it, here's what we're going to uphold ourselves, here's what's bid in the job, and give you that transparency, you're going to be like, dang, dude, this guy is like, hey, I can just plug this right in. Does this make sense? It does. Boom. There's a job.
Well, right. And I think on a lot of our negotiated projects, we should do it on all of our negotiated projects, is we should be sending out our preliminary schedule.
Mm-hmm.
But again, provide us feedback. You see in that schedule that we're 10 days faster than it should be, have that conversation. Yeah. Give us the why, right? We're going to listen, because if we're 10 days delayed delivering the project, well, that's not good for us either. We kind of have to set aside hard bid situations, because that kind of is what it is. And the owner's really just focused on cost when they choose to deliver a project that way. Mm-hmm. But on these other projects, it should be a two-way street. It should be a conversation. Now, you may come back and say, oh, you're 10 days short on your schedule. And we may come back and say, no, it has to be done. And this is the reason, because there's a drop-off point for the project. And so what that means for you is you've got to include the overtime or the weekends to meet that schedule, right? So there always needs to be a conversation about that. But kind of going back to, if you're providing this type of information, but it's not being received by the contractor that you're sending it to, know that they're not valuing that information. So don't waste your time either preparing that information for that contractor, or possibly even bidding that contractor, because they're only really focused on price. Mm-hmm. And so there's a time and a place for that. But all these things, like to do all that stuff, to think of, here's a few 4 or 5 things below the line to save you guys some money. Well, that takes time and effort on your side as well to figure those things out. It's not just, hey, here we go, we're shooting from the hip, and it's literal time. Because I faced that. I'd have arguments when we were doing the fountain work with our owners, like, well, let's price it this way and this way. You have to choose one. Like, we don't have the time to actually meet that deadline and do it both ways, because we're actually having to figure out the engineering and then the materials that go with the engineering. So you have to choose one. Like, I remember even just getting in an argument and leaving the office for a period of time, right? You got so heated about it. But like, I know you guys face that too. So my job is always to ask for help, but I need to receive that help and value that. So if I'm not valuing that, then why should you give it to me?
That's right.
So that's just disrespect, if I'm not doing that. So you guys work hard. I want to respect the time that you're putting in and the efforts that you're putting in. Again, it doesn't mean everything that time you do it's going to work out, but you should be able to pick up on, is this guy actually, liking what I'm doing, and we just haven't found that right opportunity yet, and we just got to keep working at it? Or is he taking my information and using it with somebody else, or that sort of thing,
That lights me up faster than anything, man. Hey, God bless.
This was some great VE ideas. Let me share those with everybody, right? I mean, no, that should be your competitive advantage, and give you a heads up on a project.
The amount of time that we spend in VE and additional stuff to ensure that we do have a competitive edge. We've looked at it. We've shown you guys, and then next thing you know, your VE option's getting done by somebody across town, and you're like,
yeah. Or you get the email and everybody's blind carbon copied on it.
There you go.
Everybody priced these things, and you're like, that's my list.
Yeah, dude, I provided you that information.
And it happens to us too, right? Just know that. It's not only you guys, but
I really appreciate, dude, seriously, you being willing for me to challenge you a little bit and have this conversation, because this is what it takes. This is what it takes for these guys. It's going to be invaluable, some of the comments that you've had. But I wanted to give some time here. Talk about Baldwin Shell specifically. You made mention that you'd be looking for, I don't know, I'll let you kind of go off there, estimators, and looking for some team members in the pre-contract pre-construction side of things. So by all means, highlight that.
Sure. Well, Baldwin Shell, we've been around a long time. We're actually celebrating 80 years in business. We're an Arkansas contractor. We've been serving Northwest Arkansas for over 50 years. I think last year we celebrated 50 years since our first project completion in Northwest Arkansas. It was the Gravett Memorial Hospital, I believe, building that thing. We've been here a while. We've had an office in Northwest Arkansas for over 30 years. So we were here, well before things really started taking off. But, so, we value Arkansas. Right. We do have an office. We have offices here in Springdale, is where our office is here. We're headquartered in Little Rock. We have office in Jonesboro and also in Memphis.
Really?
So, we span this region, and we've worked all over the Southeast with various projects and owners. But, commercial construction is what we do. We do everything from we're building a Freddy's frozen custard.
Missed out on that one. I was kind of shooting. Sorry.
So, building that we just completed the Whole Health Institute here in Northwest Arkansas not too long ago. So, it runs the scale. We've got around 250 employees. We serve that commercial market, but also industrial sector within this industrial division. And we also have self-performed steel erection capabilities. So we do quite a bit of that. We're just, it's a great state. It's a great place to be in and serving that. We do a ton of educational facilities, K-12 and higher ed things here locally. We've done a lot of work for Springdale schools. We're working for Fayetteville Public Schools right now, and we're building fire station in Rogers.
Fire Station 10?
Number 4.
Okay, fair enough. We've been on a couple of them.
Yeah, so, we're helping the communities that we live in continue to grow, and we're excited about that. We are hiring for pre-construction positions, pretty much anything you can imagine right now, that with a role estimator, senior estimator, pre-construction manager, we're looking to fill those roles. But, kind of in the spirit of the conversation, we're not looking for people that just want to take numbers and turn it around to an owner and put our markups on them. We're looking for people that really want to do things a different way, a better way, helping everybody do a better quality job in the field and perform. I want my superintendents and project managers to not fight over money.
That's right.
Like, let's go figure out the sequencing and how to put all this together. It's one of the things that makes me the happiest is when you get feedback from a project manager or a superintendent that with the work that we did in pre-con, we alleviated a problem. The flip side is the things I hate to hear is when things go wrong, and I think back, like, we could have fixed that. Yeah. We could have resolved that in pre-con. And so, we're looking for people that are, trustworthy, want to take ownership of what they're doing. They want to make everybody around them better. And they want to make themselves better. Patrick Langione talks about hungry, humble, smart. I'm a kinesiology major. The Lord's blessed me and I'm able to do what I do today, but it's not because I learned a lot about construction in high school or college. I grew up on a farm, and kind of learned that work ethic from my dad. But at the same point in time, I always felt like every day I can be just a little bit better and learn something. And we're looking for people that want to do the same thing and come and grow with us.
Northwest Arkansas is beautiful too. If you don't know of us, we have I would say mini boom. You can't call it like to a DFW. There for a minute, a couple of years ago, it was roaring and ripping. It's definitely simmered, but I think we're fixing to go through another little bit of a roar and a rip here, infrastructure-wise, especially in my world, as you
apparently
can tell.
You need water and sewer for people.
I've been telling them for 20 years. I don't know. I don't know what's, but yeah, apparently we keep hitting these capacity issues, and as you guys may have seen, there is some private funding helping capacity issues all across this area, but unbelievable place to raise your family. Yeah. Great schools, private schools, public schools, all of them. Cost of living's lower than you would expect. I would believe it's definitely raised since I've been here. Yeah. But man, Northwest Arkansas is just an unbelievable place, and
we have a lot of the amenities that the big cities have.
Oh yeah,
but we don't have the rhythm of the big cities. Yeah, there was definitely a pulse to how things happened in Dallas, and It's just not as heavy here. And for the people living here, it may feel heavy, but if you've been in Dallas, come here, it's just not the same. And that's one of the things we've enjoyed most about getting back. I grew up in the country outside of a town of 13,000. My wife grew up in the country outside of a town of 600. And then we're living in Dallas, when it was 5 million, 6 million people, 7 million people. It just never felt like home. And it's a great place to raise a family. Take some of that stress and pressure off of raising a family, being able to get outside into the outdoors and not just into the urban jungle.
That's right. No, I grew up in Toronto, man. So I know all about it. And I was just back there over Christmas and boondocked it in a motor coach on the side of the curb in the middle of Toronto in a snowstorm. So, no, man, when I go back, immediately I'm like, Lord, I love I-49. It runs through Northwest Arkansas. This ain't nothing. And get me back. But no, I know exactly what you're saying. So how do they need to find you if maybe they do have interest in, I said all that for you guys that are listening anywhere in the country. Like, this is a great place to move. We have 40 people a day verified moving into our 2 little counties. 4, you could say. It's starting to really venture into the other 2 counties. But man, how do they get a hold of you if it's something that they want to do?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, email is pretty easy. bhorton@baldwinshell.com, or you can find me. I don't think there's too many Baxter Hortons on LinkedIn, so you can find me pretty easily there, and love to connect with people. I love seeing different perspectives and things, and just learning from all those around me.
Blue Collar Performance Marketing's passion is to bring attention to the honest work done in blue-collar industries through effective, results-driven marketing tactics. They specialize in comprehensive digital marketing services, from paid advertising on Google and Facebook to website development and content strategy. I started working with Ike and the team earlier this year, and they've had a huge impact on our specific marketing campaign and trajectory of our overall company. Their expertise in digital ad management, website development, social media, and overall marketing strategy has been an absolute game changer for our sales and marketing at Sycon. If you're looking to work with a marketing team who does what they say, does it well, and is always looking for ways to help your company grow, book a discovery call with Ike by going to bcperformancemarketing.com/BCB podcast, or click the link in the show notes /description below. Thanks, guys. Dude, one last question for you. I ask everybody on the show, man. What's the takeaway for these blue-collar subcontractors that are sitting out there just kind of stuck in the mud, man, mentally, physically, emotionally? It could be any, but piece of advice for them.
Having done some of this learning myself for the last few years, take care of yourself. Take care of your family. Job's important. And I know as a man, it's one of those things that it's tough for me to stop down and think about, I'm doing this job, I'm doing this work to take care of my family, but sometimes we allow that to go a little too far and don't give them the time and attention that they need. So make sure you're doing that. We've talked a lot about value here. If you're not working for a company that values you as an individual, there's, in our world,
there's plenty of them.
There's plenty of places to go find a company that does value you. And honestly, that could mean you take a pay cut, but the quality of life you get in return is absolutely worth it. And, that's one of the decisions we made in moving back to Northwest Arkansas. And, I had a great place. I worked at a great company and great career, and they valued me there. I don't want to misconstrue that, but some of the things that we need to do as a family and that I was allowing, to kind of take my time and attention from, getting back here has been beneficial to us doing that, and we're thankful and grateful to God for that too.
For sure, dude. It's glad to have you, and we've built a relationship here over the last year. We've had some lunches and did some work that really didn't work out, and guess what, guys? He still came. So it's like, it
didn't work out for me either.
Yeah, exactly. So at the same time, that's probably another key takeaway. Don't get so caught up in every individual job. There's many of them.
Play the long game.
You have to play the long game. Yeah. It's not, this one job. No, there's 50 of them that we've got to bid this year. You or us, or there's so many coming down the pipe, and be concentrated on the horizon, not what's at your feet. And from there, my dude, I can't thank you enough for your time, allowing me to challenge you a little bit. I think today's episode is going to help a lot of guys with some insight. There's not many GCs that would sit down with a ditch digger in front of a microphone and how do we improve what we're doing? They will love that shot. Guys, I hope your 2026 is absolutely kicking off and the way you want it to. And if it's not, change something. Nothing changes if nothing changes. You guys be safe out there, and until next time, we will see you then. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to give it a like, share it with the fellers, check out our website to send us any questions and comments about your experience in the blue-collar business. Who do you want to hear from? Send them our way, and we'll do our best to answer any questions you may have. Till next time, guys.